Hello, and welcome to a new series where I take a look at various locations across video game universes in order to find and identify lost fossils from times long past. Welcome, friends, and join me and Mario in the dig site. The Cascade Kingdom is a place of diverse life, spanning from the birds that rest on the telephone poles to the hulking T-Rex just lying around. The lush island of Fossil Falls holds a small but flourishing ecosystem of life. But today, we aren't examining the living fossils, but the dead ones. Our first endeavor is to locate each and every fossil located throughout the island. Though there are a few odd cases of pixel art and other such beings located inside destructible rocks. This deserves bringing up what I constitute as a fossil. A fossil is a piece of organic matter that has undergone fossilization. Under this standard, these beings may possibly fall under the umbrella of a fossil, but deserve more investigation into the true nature of their being. There are tons of fossils of varying size and grandeur in the region. Let's start with some of the less interesting fossils, the ammonites. For those of you not in the know, ammonites are shelled creatures that used to live in the seas and oceans. Their living counterpart would be the nautilus, a marine cephalopod. There are 24 of these fossils in destructible rocks. Usually, ammonites are generic fossils such as rib cages that will be placed in a game to make it seem more prehistoric or ancient. While I'm at it, I would like to acknowledge the game's unhelpful flavor text on fossils. Natural patterns, the fossils. If you look closely at the stone walls, you will notice fossils mixed in. Think of it as nature's mosaic, and remember it always. While not very helpful, it does highlight the need for preservation of these rare parts of ancient life we don't really get to see nowadays. We also find things that are not animals. There are fossilized trees scattered around. Most are lying in the ground, a gray texture on top of them. The Koopa speedrunner seems to enjoy taking one as a pedestal. There's also the oddity of a fossilized stump that's standing straight up. Fossils cannot fossilize unless they are underground. Someone definitely moved this stump. Maybe I should take back that statement on fossil preservation. Either way, there are 10 fossilized trees around the site. There should be someone actually studying these fossils. And there are, according to the game. From the line, researchers believe the specimen is female. I could believe a zoologist examined it, but no one in the game claims to be a zoologist.
Side note, after recording, there is someone called the Monitor Zoologist, so yeah, never mind.
There are imprints of 8-bit enemies in every square yard of rock in the vicinity. The enemies you will see are Red Koopa Troopas, Goombas, Hammer Brothers, Bullet Bills, and Spinies. There are roughly 96 fossils of these creatures in the same rocks that hold the ammonites. There is one centerpiece that holds the minds of each and every tourist. The giant remains of a triceratops lying atop the hill. A waterfall pours from its ribcage to the sea below. In all regards, it seems to be a legitimate triceratops, which is backed by the pamphlet's description of this giant triceratops skeleton. Note how the spine lines up with the rest of the rib cages. This also produces the question of if each individual spinal column sprinkled around the island, which is roughly 2 other columns and 2 individual spinal sections, could also be triceratops skeletons. While I find paleontology to be much more enjoyable, archaeology is also important to understanding how a place was and how it came to be. From the start, while this technically isn't archaeology but geology, there are moon rocks found around the site. From the large stone tower you use as a bridge to the pedestal you get your first power moon on, the place has a supply of it around. It also seems that the power moon has activated the moon rock it has rested on, but that's a story for another time. What's more important is the Bonneton ships in ruin and decay around these parts. While there are some lines about Bowser attacking the land, the ships themselves are greatly rusted, where compared to the ships within Bonneton, which were clean, burning, yes, but clean, this suggests that these ships have been here for a while, long enough to rust down. We can't assume that it hasn't been here for long, though, as a quote in the manual says, "Old, but not as old as its surroundings." This manual also gives us some hints on why it may be here. It says, "No one knows how a Bonneton-style ship got buried here. Bonneters travel often, so they may have lived here in the past. There seems to be remnants of about 3 Bonneton's ships, with more presumably under the ground. And for another thing, the Odyssey, the ship shown in the brochure, is not buried whatsoever, making this brochure line incorrect. Not really anything of note, but I just wanted to point that out." Now, this is the part where we deduce the history of the site itself, represented by the fossils. Judging by the ammonite fossils, this entire region used to be underwater. This is not surprising due to the water flowing out of every cliff in the region. It seems that at one time, this ocean or sea dried up, and large amounts of land were uncovered. This is where giant trees and dinosaurs roamed the land. Due to the gargantuan amount of oxygen produced by these trees, the animals were able to grow to massive sizes and live at the grandeur they were. Eventually, these trees were taken down throughout the world that total oxygen levels decreased back to what we consider normal. This is where we see the influx of 8-bit species, some of which are still alive today, due to some protective rock. The Koopa Kingdom must have invaded too, as we find 8-bit bullet bills. I theorize that an earthquake must have taken out massive amounts of land to make a huge basin, wiping out large amounts of 8-bit enemies. The T-Rex was lucky enough to survive and reproduce enough, including the ones in the sub-areas, and was able to take out any normal enemies that we would find in any other location. This is where the Burbos come in. They come in large numbers and easily reproduce. That's how they were able to survive. The chain chomps we find today were most likely installed by the modern Koopas and Madame Brood. The ships on the island tell a much more personal tale, though. There is no evidence of a crash, as no hull damage seems to be done. I can only imagine a small group of Bonnetons decided to settle down in a location not too far from their own kingdom, to expand their territory. However, whether it was due to harsh conditions or predators, these Bonnetons were not able to survive, and their ships fell into disrepair over a few hundred years. It's amazing the lore and past of places as small as fossil walls can provide to us, not only about what lives there, but the entire history of this section of the planet. Anyways, I hope you liked my deep dive into this island and the lore surrounding it. I'm a growing channel, so please like and subscribe if you like my content. I also have a Twitter at VPaleontologist. I plan to tweet every time a new video uploads, so you can keep up on my videos. Anyway, now with the commercial part over, I'll see you next time, when we bring the past alive.